Susan has joined us, Susan Perlmutter from all the way from REPAY, all the way from Dallas, has joined us to walk us through the next part of our journey, which is funding fluidity, or, yeah, would that be good? Yeah? Good. Funding fluidity. Good. Go get them.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Oh, the clicker is over here. Sorry. There you go. Just a big green dot.
A major part of my job is coming to talk to lenders about new technology. So that's why I'm here today. And I can't wait to share what I'm going to share with you guys today. I have a lot of information and a little bit of time. So I'll go through the slides, lots of information on them, but I'll keep it a very high view. I am here outside along with my Visa partner team to answer any questions later about some of the slide information you may be seeing. So today in the lending marketplace, lending is happening just like it always has. You can almost finance anything you can think of today, right? So the traditional lending, autos, homes, addresses, appliances, home improvement, that's where we know lending is happening, B2B as well. But what is new and exciting about the lending marketplace is point of sale financing, right? So while the lending and the underwriting and that processes haven't changed, certainly the borrower and the borrower needs have changed, and we're all trying to figure what that is on a daily basis. So today, this is kind of what our borrower looks like, right? This guy is not interested in buying a car. He is not interested in buying an address. He is interested in financing his next vacation, right? This is our borrower. He is interested in showing his experiences. He's going to be out having fun. He wants things to come to him. He's not interested in the traditional type of lending that we all know and love, right? Here's our next customer. He's skiing. He's at Whistler. He's having a great time. He's looking out over the mountain, and he's realizing his ski vacation is ending tomorrow. And he's like, oh, I just want to stay a couple more days. I don't have any money. Wait, hold on. Let me grab my mobile phone. I would like to stay at Whistler for 5 more days. I need $1,000. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ding, there's my $1,000. When I get down to the hotel, I'm going to go arrange to stay for 5 more days. Is that possible? It's possible, and it's happening today. That's how quickly you can serve a customer who's on vacation, who has an impulse decision about wanting to stay and needing some more money. So today, traditionally, you're seeing customers in 3 places: in a branch, in a store, with an agent, and during normal business hours. Reality is, we know customers do not want to come to your store. They do not want to talk to your agents, and they don't want to do business during your business hours. They want to do business at 2 o'clock in the morning when they can't sleep, right? When they're up paying bills. They want to be able to originate loans. They want to be able to go out and look for services when you aren't open. So what do you do about that? You go digital, right? You find a way to talk to the customer when the customer is ready to talk to you. And by doing that, you not necessarily decrease your labor costs. We used to say, well, all this technology is going to remove your labor costs. That is not true. Your people are just going to be doing different things. They're going to be analyzing data rather than seeing customers face to face. So we know today these are 4 channels that customers have already adopted. So if you haven't adopted these channels for communication, these are the 4 channels that you should be looking at to add to your digital platform. Web, we heard a lot about web in the previous session. We're going to go through that and why that needs to be your hub. An IVR, which is an 800 number where your customers can call and interact with an auto attendant. This can be payments and or transactional information. Text, kind of an unknown product still today. And of course the mobile app. So again, 4 already adopted consumer products that they have told us this is the way they want to communicate with us today. So the web, it's not for just marketing. We heard in the previous session how robust your website can be. So I'm not going to really go through the application and the approval process. Those are things you should be doing today. Most of you already have some type of an online application process. So you've already taken that first step. The next step is to build the algorithms behind it to be able to approve and give that instant gratification. I know I've been approved. What do you do next in that transaction? We fund that transaction immediately. So a true online transaction has 4 components. It has the online application, the approval and the negotiation of terms, instantly funding that transaction, and collecting the payment method and setting up the first payment on the transaction. A 4-step process. For a very first-time loan recipient, this is about a 15 to 20-minute process because of the application and underwriting requirements. On a relend, this can be as quick as 2 minutes because everything is going to be stored in the database to relend. You're going to have the profile, you're going to have the application, you're going to have the payment method to fund, and you're going to have the payment method to collect your payments on the transaction. So it becomes a very fluid way of doing business with your customer. So Visa has given us a way to transform that funding process. The Visa debit card, your Interact cards today that are branded with that Visa logo can be used to push funds in the same way that you give that Visa card or that Interact card today to merchants to pull funds. So it becomes a push-pull, that one debit card, to be able to land funds on the account for destination. It doesn't matter if it's a consumer account or a business account, right? So Visa has given us the ability now to instantly fund our customers. How does it work? Well, there are different rails. In the payment industry, we call those rails where money moves. Money moves today for your EFT on the banking rails, for Interact on the banking rails. This transaction runs on the MasterCard and Visa rails. These are real-time payments, right? Where an EFT is overnight. An Interact transaction may be today, if all the banks are participating. It may be hours, even with an e-transfer. The banks may not be participating at the same level. So it's an unknown factor, where a Visa debit or a MasterCard debit transaction on a push transaction doesn't have an unknown factor. We have a confirmation it lands, we know it lands, right? We understand how it's going to get to the consumer, and we know it's going to fund the consumer in a matter of seconds. So what cards can be direct funded? Any type of Visa debit card, any type of Interact card that has a logo on it, a MasterCard or Visa logo, and that includes your business accounts as well. So in conversations with Canadian lenders, I'm hearing that some of you are looking at the card issuing side of the business. And the reasons that you're looking at becoming a program director or going through the expense of issuing a card is to be able to fund. What I'll tell you is any person or business that has a depository relationship has the ability to get a debit card with that depository. That is a debit card that can be immediately funded. So you don't need to go through the effort of being a program director and being a card issuer if that is the reason you're getting into the business. If you're getting into that program to do other things, that's a different story. But if you're only getting into it to be able to fund your customer, you don't need to have all that expense. You don't need to have all those programs to be able to fund, because you can simply use a card that is sitting in the wallet of your business customer or your customer, your consumer customer today. The transaction works like this. Lenders are the merchant. You have a payment processor, somebody like me. You have a payment network. Those are the MasterCard and Visa rails. You have the issuing institution. This is who issued the debit card to the business or who issued the debit card to the consumer. And then you finally have the DDA where the money lands, right? Again, this can be a 20-minute transaction if you're taking the application, or a 2-minute transaction. This is also 24/7, 365. So the guy sitting on the mountain could be there at 7 o'clock in the morning and get that money at 7:20 if he's filled out the application for the first time. Think about having a business customer who is waiting on a large invoice for payment to make payroll. Oh my gosh, I can't make payroll today. How am I going to get this money? We can transfer up to $100,000 in one transaction onto a debit card. So it works just as well in the consumer world as it works in the business world. What does it look like to the recipient? In a matter of 5 more seconds than I counted, because I didn't have enough time, it's about 12 seconds, they can sign into their online banking and see that deposit. We'll be able to do these transactions live out in the lobby if you'd like to see one later. We have Visa with us, and we're doing this in Canada today. So this is a live product, not just with my company, but a live product in the market. So just a little bit about how consumers like to have their money deposited. It's no surprise that the #1 preferred way of deposit is direct deposit. Not a check, not a live check. a direct deposit. And certainly that Visa Direct product will meet that expectation. So now that you know how to fund, we want to talk about when to fund and how you fund. So you saw the web and the mobile app. The web and the mobile app mentioned in the previous session. The mobile app really should be front and center. If you're not thinking about mobile first this year, please put it on your 2020 calendar as mobile first next year. So mobile really is the #1 way consumers want to interact with their phones. I myself was not an app user up until about the last 18 months ago. I got an iPhone app. It opens with my face. I love it. So I absolutely will use an app over going to a website. Apps also allow you to use push notifications to your customers. So over and above text, which needs an opt-in, a push notification is completely enabled by your customer. So it's a way you can send payment reminders, offers for loans, offers for relents. So it's really a robust way to communicate, and it gives your customers an interactive way of communicating with you. You can also put chat on something like this. So your customers can go out to a mobile app site and create a dialogue with a chatbot or with someone on your end. So it becomes a very interactive product in your arsenal of your platform. So you see their platform needs to be circular. It's important that your programs are talking to each other. If you don't have one vendor who is supplying all of your technology, you need to make sure your customers can interact with each piece of your technology. So if you have an IVR and a website and a mobile app, you shouldn't have a customer have 3 different IDs or 3 different passwords to access all those data points. They need to be able to run in and out of these channels effectively, and each channel needs to be able to talk to each other. You also see in the middle, I've mentioned debit card and EFT. I left Interact off the slide purposely. Interact is not a card not present transaction. It's clunky. It doesn't perform the same way as a debit card performs. And as I said before, just because you only have an Interact card in your wallet, it doesn't mean you can't use the Visa rails. Because as long as that Interact card has that logo, it's going to perform better on the MasterCard Visa rails than it will on the banking rails. And we'll go through that here in just a minute. So some of the small things you can do in that circle of that ecosystem is giving your customer choices. So even at the end of a transaction, asking a customer, do they want the receipt by email? Do they want it by text? So in these smallest minute ways, you're building a way the customer prefers to talk to you, prefers to have information from you. So once you figure these things out, now you have a clear path of communication back to that customer in their preferred manner. So as you have someone on your team doing your data analysis or someone like me behind the scenes doing this data analysis, these are things that you guys should be taking notice of. How your customers want to communicate. And when you want to talk to them, you want to reach out to them in the way that they have wanted to communicate. So the way they're getting their receipts is the way you should be sending them marketing offers, right? So you have that two-way interaction. So I mentioned MasterCard and Visa being a partner on the front side. They're also a partner on the back side. I know this is new for this room because MasterCard and Visa don't seem to be in your ecosystem for payments, but they really can be, and they should be. So as I said, even though Visa debit and MasterCard debit isn't prevalent today, Interact is probably the most prevalent form of payment. 2 years ago, these brands started badging those cards to get ready for what we're going to do in the next coming years of providing that Visa debit card or MasterCard debit card as a point of payment for you as a lender. So not only is it a real-time transaction, there's no chargeback, it can settle in 48 hours, it actually sets aside the money from the account, from the consumer, and holds that so it doesn't bounce like an EFT. You can also collect partial payments through this network. So if you're presenting something online, if you're calling out for an EFT of $500 and there's only $300 in the account, a Visa debit product can help you collect that $300 online instantly instead of collecting the whole $5. So on an online transaction, this represents the number of clicks a consumer has to go through to pay Interact versus a pure card debit product. So when I pay with the Visa debit product or MasterCard debit product, it's 3 clicks. 1, 2, 3. With Interact, it's 4, 5, 6. And that's not fat fingering, that's making sure all the information got in the first time. So you see, if you're having trouble getting your customers to pay online, it may be because the experience is just too clunky. So think about when you're buying something, how many clicks you really want to go through to have to put in a payment method to authorize the transaction. You want it to be quick, right? So if you're not thinking about this type of payment method, be thinking about it, right? There are incentives that the payment networks have put in place to make these transactions more affordable. So there shouldn't be any reason today that you're not looking at including these payment methods in your portfolio. I'm going to wrap up here with just those 4 channels. The IVR, this is an 800 number. It's primarily been for taking payments. It's very, very friendly. Consumers love it because there's no logging in. But I would challenge you to think about your IVR being able to verify approved transactions on the web, sending information, doing a call out, and giving somebody a confirmation number that their web transaction was approved. So this is really your #1 employee in your office. It never shows up late. It does its job. It treats all your customers exactly the same. It can really be a dynamic piece of your whole platform going forward with your customers. And then, of course, you've got SMS text. And I still think this has a place, probably not the place it had 2 years ago. The opt-in process is difficult. This is not a set it and forget it type of product. The other 3, mobile and web and IVR, you put it in place, consumers use it. The text product is not that way. It takes adoption, it takes somebody managing that, you have compliance. So even though it's a great product and it does have a place in the ecosystem, it's not something that you can just buy and put on the shelf and let it work. You need to assign someone in your organization as your text guru and be sure that they are up on compliance and managing those stops and making sure that you're sending templates that are good, that are responded to by your clients, and just making sure the program works. So it's not a set it and forget it like the others are, right? So guys, I made it in my 20 minutes, I'm glad. I'm gonna be out with my Visa partners in the lobby. If you guys like to have any more information or maybe see one of these transactions live, we'd be happy to show you. Thanks much.
Great job.
Thanks.